tapestry, because at first I thought, how can I hang this tapestry? It's maybe 60 years old. It was in my parents' house. I loved it when it was in my parents' house, and the cat, for some reason, has really taken to rolling around on this tapestry as I had it laid out on the floor, trying to get these kind of hooks organized. Um, it's old. I thought I would have to do like a sort of fabric kind of back with like a tab top kind of add to it panel, but I have these hooks and clips, and I want it to go way up here. Um, so I thought about just having a couple J hooks and having it clipped directly to the beams, the joists above. But okay, obviously I'm short, and if I had it the one more foot up at the joists, well then it's too short. It would hang low. And I want it to hang here about. Well, the tapestry didn't exactly work out as I intended. Um, Getting the curtain rod up and suspended on the chain was not a problem. I expressly got a chain that was for chandeliers, potted plants. It's rated to hold 40 or 50 pound capacity weight, and I have it distributed across the rod with hooks and hooks and hooks in the center. These actually giant J hooks that I know they look slightly scary. You can kind of see them. But at the same instance, they have been incredibly useful in a number of projects. I'm so glad that I got like a bulk bag of them. So the weight is carried and the mechanics and everything work fine. But when I hung the chandelier, was using the clip rods that are actually meant for pin tuck drapes that were in the house when we moved here, actually, and I reused them in the guest room project. So you probably won't be seeing that till after Halloween, but all the hardware was here for me to do, but when I hung the tapestry, it didn't hang right. It was too heavy of itself to kind of drape or just be able to be drawn and stretched again. And it's a shame because I really love the tapestry, and I don't know where to put it. I mean, it's not anything that's really that kind of antique. I mean, I think it was from like the 60s or 70s. It was in my parents' house for many years, and I loved it. And it's still so very vivid, and it has some great color in it. And one of the things that I really love, although I know it's not for everybody, but I really love the kind of ecclesiastical design that's on it. To me, that's also very medieval, which I also thought was very kind of dark shadows. It was also very stained glass window kind of to me that I thought would be a great kind of backdrop here when I want to hide the curtain and I want to actually sit here and do, proper kind of Kbatz Kraft filming. But it just didn't hang right, and the cat seemed to like it too much, and I kept thinking, is the cat going to start to try and climb on it or something? So I went back to this curtain, which I had hanging in the room upstairs when I was filming, and this obviously is the velvet one that I did hang up here on the side, and this one is obviously some kind of more silky, but it's actually hung horizontally instead of vertically like it's meant to be. But it is a curtain that is meant to drape, so I do have something that does hide a little bit of what's back here, and I can sort of draw it to any kind of positioning that I desire, which is really kind of nice. So, and it's not as bulky as the tapestry that it's able to just be here on the side. Sometimes I kind of like to just sort of swag it here just behind my desk, actually. So there you go. So I don't know, again, just to soften some of the hard lines that sometimes I don't want to see some of my projects that are unfinished back here, like my purple Regency thing that is still unfinished. But I have lots of other painting and other new Halloween projects in progress here, so I'm already getting a lot of work done.
Hello again, horror addicts. I'm Kristin Battestella, aka Kbatz. I wanted to take a minute here to talk about my lenticular wall gallery. If you can see part of it, there's a difficult spot here to have the camera because actually the stairwell into the basement is right here. So that needs to be stained, and there's drywall when you first enter that I would love to do a kind of that stone, that kind of faux kind of stone castle kind of wallpaper. That looks a little like Collinwood. It looks a little castle and cask of Amontillado. So I would love to do that, and I would love to stain the stairs dark. Right now they're just the natural unfinished ugly wood. But it's been 100 degrees here, and you can't really stain and wallpaper paste in such icky, sticky, gross weather. So it's not really good. That's not the time to tackle this kind of project, and it's okay if it waits. Again, pandemic and supplies, and I already got myself into a kind of double, triple kind of fold kind of project anyway, so that's something that can wait. I don't mind about that. You do have one sort of traffic flow when you come down these stairs and come into my side of the basement. And that was where I knew I wanted this kind of lenticular wall gallery kind of spotlight. And now, in addition to these video series that we're doing at horroraddicts.net, don't forget that some of the crafts that have also been featured here also have their own how-tos and DIYs and separate articles at horroraddicts.net on the blog. So I intend to talk more in writing about the lenticular gallery, simply because I think that's something we've talked about off and on our Facebook group. We've shared lots of pictures of cool kind of gothic artwork that we like. So I think everybody likes the idea of a spooky kind of wall gallery, but maybe isn't sure how to do it, or is maybe it's scary to take that kind of leap. Number one, you don't want to wreck your walls. So I think that a gallery can be done affordably. It doesn't have to be costly. It doesn't have to be messy and scary. I mean, even not being sure about the steel kind of here, I knew I wasn't hanging anything super heavy, steel studs, aluminum studs, whatever are behind this wall. I knew I wasn't hanging something super heavy, so I wasn't too worried about the construction. I mean, granted, if you want to hang something like medieval armor on the wall, then you probably need to make sure you're researching, getting the right weight kind of drywall anchors and things like that. But mainly, I think it's as simple as practice. This is just a plain piece of that kind of Kraft or shipping kind of paper, and you make your shapes of everything that you want. So you get to practice what your theme should be, and generally I think you do have to have some kind of theme or some kind of cohesion, so you can go through your lenticular collection. If you have scary photos that you want to hang, if you have any kind of special posters, or there should be some kind of visual theme that anchors the wall that matches that kind of visual flow. You can't just, willy-nilly put everything on the wall, number one, nails, screws, everything, making holes in your walls, and at the same time, it can't look visually messy. So if you have some practice sheets that you can put on the wall, nice and easy, then you're able to see what things fit, what things don't, what needs to be rearranged or can go here or there, and you haven't wrecked your wall in the process. So I think it's good to just have practice first, gather what you want to do, have your practice on the wall, and then you're able to hang something. And this was a space where I knew I didn't have a lot of space. That was why these little faux dark shadow sconces, if you can see up here, I knew I wanted them to go in this area, but I knew I did not have the floor space because of where the stairs come down and turn. So I think maybe a lot of us don't have that kind of space where you could have some kind of scary, gothic, kind of really old-fashioned antique ornate table and some big giant scary mirror. A lot of that's expensive, and it does take up a lot of space, especially in a traffic flow kind of area. But I did have to hang everything here at short person kind of height, because if I went higher, the bulbs in the sconces would have been up in the rafters of the ceiling. So I did have to hang that at my sort of eye level here. But at the same instance, there is still a grand moment when you are coming down the stairs that regardless of what height you are, at some point someone has to stop on one of the other steps and is able to take in the whole view. So that's another thing about visual flow, that it has to make sense to be pleasing to your brain, but also has to mirror traffic flow. So my mother will come in and look at a picture and get up close and say, "Who's that person?" and be like, "Ew," and grossed out. But the idea is that you come down the steps, you're sort of wowed by a focal point, and then the flow follows into the room. And I also kind of grouped things in series of threes or fours. So you have 4 on that side. This is sort of a 4 with accessories. And this has 2, 3 on the wall, but then this is here, you kind of can't see, this is that step shelf of storage. So, and I have a few lenticulars on the shelf here. So it is a series that flows and has a sort of organic kind of meaning, but has built-in breaks and is able to follow the eye and the body kind of design. I don't know if it's necessarily feng shui, but you're able to follow the flow into the rest of the room. And I went with all lenticulars in all relatively dark frames. The one picture frame down here, my father actually gave me. All of these were thrift or dollar store, found in my attic, given to me, and they don't have to be expensive. And my father said, "Oh, I know you like dark frames," and they're not all necessarily all black. Some of them do have a little metal designs. That one's more of a brown mix to it. And he said, "I don't necessarily think you'll like the picture." He said, "But I know you like dark frames." And I said, "But Dad, can't you tell this picture is the Bob Ross School of Painting?" So I felt bad. I did change the frames, but I kept the picture just to be funny. This big frame right here, remember these lenticulars I posted about quite a long time ago on our horroraddicts.net Facebook group, where I was really surprised. I thought I bought one for $3 at Goodwill, and it turned out there were 2 stuck together. And this far painting, if you can see down here, the frame that had the painting, are actually the same size portrait. But again, I was able to change them out, play with the scale on the series by using a different size frame. And this actually did have a picture of my sister in it. Sorry, sis. But the glass actually broke. My mother didn't want the frame anymore because the glass was broken in it. And I said, "Well, I'll take it." And I mean, I don't care if it gets dust on a lenticular. I put my sister's picture in a new frame. But this was that shiny 80s brassy kind of material. So there were areas where I left that kind of decorative trim. And here I just brushed some black and rubbed off here to sort of highlight the raised area of the detail kind of work. So this was a free frame that I was able to doctor. All the lenticulars came from the dollar store or thrift or something affordable. This spooky little axe you've probably seen in my previous videos. You can't quite see it in this one. There's an axe up here. That's actually one of those foam ones from the Halloween store. So this wall has a lot of scary kind of impact, and it didn't cost a lot, and it was very easy to do. And as I said, depending on when you're seeing the video or when some of the articles are in the queue on horroraddicts.net blog, you'll be able to see where I've written up some more DIY about what to do and what not to do to make your own scary lenticular gallery. So, well, horror addicts, I actually finished the lampshade fringe, which is another one of the articles actually that's going to be on our horroraddicts.net blog, in addition to all the dark shadows, maybe not decorating video series that we're having here. Speaking of lighting, I did get one special treat here. This actually, I may have even posted, again, a long time ago, was a gift from my husband. I had it in my wish list, and then I was going to take it out because I knew I needed more lighting in my room upstairs, which is now the guest room, and I never hung this up there. But I wasn't sure what kind of lighting I wanted, and there are so many possibilities. Obviously, I wanted something that was kind of spooky, but is it really just decorative? I don't know. And there's all kinds of, even if you're just looking at chandeliers, there's ones that are uplight that are meant to illuminate your low ceiling or high ceiling. There's, downlight spotlights on your table. There's ones that come with shades. There's ones that have glass globes. There's just so many possibilities. And, when you want something really glamorous, of course, they're very expensive. And I did not want to spend a lot. I thought, well, something cute and slightly glam and spooky gothic is fine. So I was going to take it out of my wish list because I thought, well, I don't need a chandelier, right? But then my husband did get it for me as a gift, and it sat in the box for a while because, again, I started this project of, well, it's a guest room down here, that's my room upstairs, but then if I switch them around. So I never actually hung it up, and I've gone out now for the 4th time in 120 days of the pandemic because I needed light bulbs. Yeah, I almost forgot the light bulbs, Kbatz. They're like the number one thing that they always say about decorating a design: make sure you have light bulbs. I didn't have chandelier light bulbs. So the beauty about this, in addition, I think it was $60 anyway, not very expensive, but the beauty about this kind of chandelier was that it also came with the hooks and a chain to swag and just plug in outlet. It's not the kind of chandelier where you need an electrician to get into, drilling, holes in your ceiling and putting in junction boxes and fishing wires down to, light switches to flick off and on. You don't have to worry about any of that. So there's all kinds of different, what your lighting needs, what kind of electrical options, and different kind of affordability. I've always liked these kind of little gem crystal kind of chandeliers. Actually, I had an aunt, a great aunt, when I was younger, and her house was gas to electric, and they had those real kind of crystal kind of drops, and I always thought those were so magical. And this one, actually, maybe there's a place where 2 more of these are supposed to go, where maybe I could put them on there if I wanted. But come on, you know what I'm thinking here with Kbatz. I just want to, oh, you can't see dark on dark, but that I just want to make, bling myself out to match my chandelier. So, you can kind of see my ugly ceiling a little bit. There's a little more light from the chandelier. No. And it really looks nice in here not at night. I was going to say at night, but there's 2 small windows on the other side of the basement, but not so much here. I guess I don't really notice when it's day or night or 2 o'clock in the morning like it may be right now. But having just the lamps and task lighting on down here and not the fluorescent lights really make a difference. At first I started to think that, well, if I'm not doing up the ceiling, and I did have to put more insulation on some of the ductwork, and I kind of thought, well, as much as I try and dress it up, it's still just a basement. But when I shut off those fluorescent lights and everything is lit up here with just regular lamps, it really does look like a cool, cozy space. I have my fireplace, my chandelier. Maybe it's a little spooky for some people, but okay, I can't lie. That was my intention. I wanted it to look like dark shadows. There we go. Now it's starting to look really, really spooky down here. I can forget about the ceiling if I don't have the ugly fluorescent lights on. And it's kind of funny. I have had this creative surge where I'm doing more things here. I already got the floor dirty with some moss for another project, and I feel very creative, and I want to make more videos, but with 100-degree weather, oftentimes all the blowers and electrical kind of things are running down here, which is not ideal for audio. So I kind of have to pick my times of when I get to film down here. But at the same time, I've been working more down here, and I love just sitting by the fire. Even though it's 100 degrees, I can sit by the fire. And it's actually a lot cooler down here than even upstairs when, the air condition is on constantly. So it's a very, at the same time, calming. I'm getting excited talking about it. It's a very calming and kind of relaxing kind of place. When I have the fluorescent lights on, it's actually the best light where I can actually sit here and sew, which is nice instead of trying to sit by a task lamp upstairs and try and tilt the shade to do what I want to do. Speaking of shades again. But I'm getting a lot of work done, which is really cool. So I'm already on like my October projects. I did have to get rid of a few projects that I intended this year, things that are just going to have to wait. And although I'm filming this now and working on the Dark Shadows basement again, remember this was twofold. I still had the guest room to do upstairs. So there was a pause here for a little while on this room because I needed to finish the guest room beforehand. I actually did have guests that were coming, and so I needed to have the guest room done. So there were a few little things down here that were kind of decorative that kind of waited, and I thought, well, okay, everything is down here. The little extra bells and whistles and things, they can wait, while I get the major guest room kind of things done. And you'll probably see all that too. I did document all that process as well, but now that we're doing the Dark Shadows basement is finished, now it's going to be all time for all of our fall and Halloween kind of things. Briefly, I did want to talk about some of these little spooky orbs that I've done. Again, you'll be seeing a little bit more of the DIY, how actually not to make these. I actually had a couple fails along the way, which even when we have fails, it's important to still experiment and do fun, crazy crafts, right? Just for our spooky aesthetic, because you can't really buy something like this, can you? No. So I actually had the materials for two, which is quite cool. And I haven't been able to capture it on film, but they do glow in the dark. Yes, absolutely. So there will be an article about these on horroraddicts.net, as well as pictures of the mistakes on my Facebook, Kbatz Kraft. I don't really necessarily love Facebook, but it's a place where I'm able to share more of the step-by-step photographs along the way with you. And don't forget, we are always talking about crazy things on our own horroraddicts.net Facebook group. I'd love to see some of your decorating and inspirations and crazy crafts, particularly because now we're going to be getting into the fall season where a lot more. This year, I think I'm in a phase of skeletons. I think I made a couple pumpkin projects the past few years, but now I happened upon a bag of skeleton bones, and I've really just gone crazy. Okay, that sounded a little, a little weirder than I meant for it to sound. It was at the thrift store. I found the bones at the thrift store. Okay, so okay, I didn't, dig them up in the backyard or anything. So um, you can find all of the videos here are on my YouTube channel, and you can find them also in the Dark Shadows Frightening Flicks Meets Kbatz Craft series on our horroraddicts.net blog. And in addition to several of the craft articles about the Dark Shadow sconces, about these fringe lampshades, about the spider topiaries, and these spooky orbs, the Lenticular gallery, there's a whole series of written articles that go along with this video series as well. Well, horror addicts, there's nothing left to do now but make more frightening flicks in Kbatz crafts. I already have a few projects in progress and feel very active and creative here in my new space. Although this massive twofold project was already going forward, ready or not, I debated about sharing my decorating journey with you. Who wants to see all this in the middle of so much turmoil and sadness? Our society often judges people's style on what they have, which is usually more about convenience and affordability rather than who we really are. We at horroraddicts.net, however, certainly march to the beat of a different drummer, right? So I decided to share my journey, hoping to inspire you in these dark times. From the painting to the furniture and having all my scary things about me, this has been a surprisingly therapeutic process. So I wanted to pass that on to you. Maybe even in a crowded quarantine house or small rented space, you can find one little corner to call your own. Be it with a tacky chair, nostalgic mementos, or horrific enlightenment to make your little dark heart sing. For more photos and craft DIY, be sure to subscribe here and follow horroraddicts.net on all our social media channels. Share your scary decorating with us on our horroraddicts.net Facebook group. And as always, thank you for watching, my blessed and spooky friend.